Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I am Crystal, and we're just going to get a little bit into who I am, what I do, and why I do it, okay? I originally started this channel, ooh, 23, 3 years ago. Sheesh, it doesn't seem like it's been that long. I originally started this channel 3 years ago, and it's gone through several different changes as it is currently going through again. But 3 years ago, when I started this channel, it was because I just needed a place to vent. I was going through a separation with my kid's father, and life was pretty hectic, becoming a single parent, facing eviction and homelessness, and just being overwhelmed and kind of confused on where to go in life. Um, Life has, since I've been a kid, life has kind of been like up and down. It hasn't really ever been steady. And I'm saying that, like, mentally and emotionally, I used to suffer with depression, anxiety. Um, and a lot of that just, again, stemmed from a lot of things that I went through in my childhood. So let's fast forward. I am now a certified life coach, you guys. It took time. Within the last 3 years, I fell, okay? And I fell hard. But I also worked very hard to get where I am today. And I know it's like, girl, you talking about like, because I mean, it got bad. Like, I was sleeping in my car, I had to be separated from my kids. And here I am, and I'm talking to you guys, and I'm smiling because it was all a part of my journey. It was all a part of my experience. And I think without that, I know for a fact, without those moments, I would not be where I am today. Okay? And so, as I said previously, I am kind of switching the dynamics again of my channel. And I would like to introduce you to me, Crystal. I am the founder of Crystal Blue Coaching. Again, I am a certified life coach, and my niche is trauma recovery. Um, when you go to school to become a certified life coach, it is up to you to decide afterwards what it is your niche is going to be. I decided on trauma recovery because that is what I resonated with the most. Not just from a personal standpoint, but also with the people that I come into contact with on a daily basis. One of the biggest lessons in my life that I kind of had to figure out again along this journey is I felt a need to help people. Okay, so I found myself gravitating a lot towards people who, society or the world or, you know, outsiders consider broken. Okay, but let me tell you guys, okay, because I used to refer to myself as a broken person. I used to tell people like, I'm broken. We are not broken. You are not broken. I am not broken. um we are just misdirected and undereducated of self. Okay, now it has taken me quite some time to make this video. I've been procrastinating a lot on actually making this video and putting it out here to you guys, because I am a little bit nervous. Again, this is not something that I've recently done. I've been a certified coach for the last 8 months, and during that time, while coaching and mentoring others, I also have been building a course, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I've been building a course that focuses on helping people identify their starting point. Okay. Now, like I said, I've been procrastinating on making this video because one of the things that you learn as well are marketing strategies, and something that they teach you when you are doing these marketing strategies, because social media is such a large marketing platform. They teach you how to identify with the algorithm, and the steps that you need to take to get your content pushed out. And so a lot of the times when I'm going on there and I'm looking for content that resonates with my niche, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, it kind of make me cringe, because a lot of things are like, oh, do this exercise and do this 1 hour exercise and you're trauma free, or take this test. I feel like everything is what they call in the marketing world painkillers, right? People are out here and they're promoting what I believe, and for myself, would be a unrealistic approach to healing and working through trauma. So I did kind of get a little stuck, because I'm like, well, I don't want to get on here and I don't want to give fluff. I want to give authentic. I want to be able to talk about the real. I want to be able to get on here and tell my viewers that, and it may not be for everybody, okay? It may not be for everybody, but healing is not a one size fits all. It is not a 25-minute exercise. It is not a 2-hour course. Depending on your life experience, healing can be something that's lifelong, okay? Now, although, like I told you guys, 3 years ago, I, separated from my kid's father, and that was a major turning point in my life, but it catapulted me to start my healing journey. Okay, and I say 3 years ago, but it feels so much longer. So maybe the last 3 to 5 years, I've been on my healing journey. And again, it has not been a one size fits all. It is layers. It is layers. But again, that's because of my life experience, my personal life experience. When you grow up in a kind of chaotic situations, you learn how to survive. That's really all it is. You learn how to survive in chaotic situations when it is something that is constant in your life. Now, again, for me, that was something that started early on in my childhood. So not only when I started my healing journey, it wasn't only just about me dealing with this one traumatic experience, because it had became layers, right? It had became layers and layers and layers of trauma and repressed emotions, unidentified grief, loss, pain, hurt, just all of it. And there were so many layers that I found out later that I would have to work through. Okay, like an onion. It's definitely an onion effect. Okay, and I had to peel back so many layers to not only heal, but to also identify where the root problems were. Okay, because there can be many roots spread, and eventually trees grow, and those trees have branches. And I know I'm just talking metaphorically right now, but the bottom line is that what I have been seeing displayed on social media in regards to healing and dealing with trauma, to me, again, it just seems very fictitious. Okay, it just seems very unrealistic, and I don't like it. I don't, because one thing that I'm very serious about is helping. Okay, helping other people work through those traumatic experiences in life. Okay, and what helped one person may not work for the other person. All right, so I'm sorry, let me uncross my arms. With that being said, let's talk about some of the things that I have had to work through on my spiritual journey. Okay, I'm going to give you guys, because I can't say there was one biggest lesson. For me, I went through a lot of big lessons. And when I say big lessons, I mean like huge turning points. Okay, things where it was like, whoa, I did not know that this was affecting me this deep for this long. And once I was able to identify, address, reassess, and work through whatever it is I needed to work through, it changed my life completely. Okay, and like I'm saying, this is not stuff that happened overnight. It didn't happen in 12 weeks. It didn't happen in a year. Okay, if I'm being completely honest, there are still things that I am currently working on. The biggest difference from then and now is that I'm able to sit with myself and identify. Sit with myself and identify, like, okay, this is a response. This is a trauma response. My behaviors, my decisions that I'm making, the way that I'm emotionally responding right now is a trauma response. And I know how to navigate it better. Okay? So one of the biggest lessons, my first biggest lesson after separating from my kid's father, was my self-worth. Okay? If I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, it was my self-worth. And that took me down a road of, like, why do I think so little of myself? Or, like, why am I allowing myself to be in a situation that is creating so much damage to me internally. Okay, it's causing so much conflict. It's causing so much conflict with me internally. It's I am also a published author. I actually wrote a book. It's called The Forgotten Butterfly. It is on Amazon. And if y'all want to know a little bit more about that backstory, again, you can check it out on Amazon. And I want to try not to get emotional, because just even going back there and seeing myself where I am today is like, whoa, at what point in my life did I feel like this is what I deserved out of life? And that threw me into a big period of isolation. Taking a step back, like at that point, I didn't have anything left to give. I was a new mother. I was a new mother to not one but two kids. Holding on to this idea of family. And I was raised in foster care. And, I didn't grow up with my mom and my father in the same household. And because I wanted that for my kids, I was sacrificing my own happiness to have that with their dad. And we were just out of space. We were out of space where we didn't align anymore. Okay? And trust had been broken. Respect had been lost. And I was still trying to hold on. Okay? This is neither here nor there, but I'm just going to tell you what got me into that mind space is, after having our second daughter, we moved in together, and a little while after that, I found out that he was cheating on me, and not with just one woman, but it was multiple women. And that really did something to my spirit, and also again to my self-esteem. But that's honestly, I feel like it affected me the way it did because I was already struggling with self-esteem issues. And so my identity and who I am and who I was at that time and my self-worth was attached. I was attaching it to my relationship, okay, to how much I provided for my family, how much I put up with. I took pride in, making sure that he was a part of me and my kids' life, making sure that, we had that dynamic. And it was a huge slap in the face to find out that he was cheating on me. And give me 1 second, y'all. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, it was a huge slap in the face. It was a huge slap in the face and a huge blow to my spirit, a huge blow to my spirit. A lot of times we think, and this is something that I also discuss with, some of my clients, because a lot of, I was talking to one of my clients and he had experienced cheating in his relationship. And, you know, we, because of like, we're like, oh, we spent, you know, I've spent so much time here, I've invested so much, or, you know, I have this idea of what this is supposed to look like, or, you know, whatever the case is, for whatever reason, you know, we stay and we try to make things work. Um, but I don't think we fully understand at that time. It's like, yeah, a lot of people focus on, well, like, oh, the trust is lost in a relationship now, and um you know, it's a lot of focus on how the person who's been cheated on views their partner. And I think that a lot of people fail to realize, like, the biggest blow about that is how it makes us feel about ourselves. How the person who's being cheated on starts to look at and view themselves. I think that's the most detrimental thing, because it's like, you know, you start questioning, like, well, you know, what did this person have that I didn't have? What could I have done better? And am I really who I think I am? You know, so yeah. Yeah. But anyways, moving forward. So my self worth was one of the biggest lessons for me in the beginning, and understanding that my relationships, my financial status, my societal status, none of those define my self-worth. Can they add, or can they add value? Yes. Can some situations, I don't want to say decrease your value, um, but can some situations become a liability? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, they don't get to define who I am and what I deserve out of this life. And that wasn't something that I was taught as a child. Okay, so again, a lot of the things I'm going to tell you, I later figure on, stem from childhood trauma or childhood beliefs, the way that I was, you know, brought up as a child, the things that I saw as a child, and picked up subconsciously. But again, it wasn't just like, oh, let me work on my childhood trauma, right? Because I didn't know that a lot of the roads that I was going down would lead me back to the same destination. Okay, so we can say like, oh, I'm gonna work on my childhood trauma, but how do you know? How do you know which part of your childhood to look at? Okay, because again, a lot of the things that stem from our childhood have become second nature. They have become subconscious behaviors. They have become subconscious thoughts. They have become things that we have suppressed or just internalized to the point to where we can't say like, oh, well, you know, I behave this way, or I react this way because of XYZ from my childhood. You know, I don't want to get lost, you guys. I don't want to get lost. So let's just move on to another factor. Another big lesson that I learned is that isolation, okay, is your friend. Isolation is your friend. And I don't, intentional intentional isolation. Let me say that. Intentional isolation is needed. There are even moments now where I'm like, okay, I just cannot. I can't. Because for me, and I used to have really bad people pleasing tendencies. Okay. That's another thing that I learned about myself on this healing journey, is that I had taken on the role of the caretaker for my friends, for my family, for everyone around me. And by doing so, I was surrounded by so much noise, right? So much noise. Problems that weren't mine. I'm carrying that emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I'm carrying all this baggage. And I have all these worries and problems in my mind that really aren't mine to deal with, and that are making it harder for me to see and identify what is actually mine. What is my stuff? Okay? Because it's just like, for instance, one of the things, we social media, again, let's just start there. We'll use that as an example. Social media, they have all these people telling you what a relationship should look like, and what a man should do, what a woman should do, how, what are green flags, what are red flags. And so you're taking that in, and then you're going out here into the world and you're like, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. Ooh, this is a green flag. And you're not making decisions for yourself, right? You're making your decisions based off someone else's experiences and someone else's opinions. Okay? When what they experienced with a certain situation may not be your experience, but because you're holding on to, and you're internalizing that emotional and mental baggage, now you're making decisions, okay, and you're reacting to life based off someone else's experience. So I had to isolate myself. I had to isolate myself, okay, so that I could cancel out the noise and just listen to me, to hear myself. As I was saying a little bit earlier, I don't think I finished, but my cup was empty. My cup was empty, and I didn't have any more to give. Okay? I had given everything I had to everybody who would come and drink from the cup. And baby, let me tell you, they was drinking. And they didn't care about if my cup was empty. But it wasn't on them to care. Okay? Because a person, baby, if you say free buffet, baby, they're going to come and they're going to eat it up. Okay? And they're going to eat and drink until their bellies are full. And nobody's going to care about the mess that's left behind. So I had to start caring about myself. I had to say, you know what? I can't be this for this person right now, because I don't even know how to show up and be for me. Okay? Another one of my biggest lessons was definitely the people pleasing. Definitely the people pleasing, hands down. Scared to speak up for myself. Scared to say again, hey, I love you sis, I love you homegirl, but what you're going through right now is emotionally draining, and I don't want to take that on right now. I'm at a really good space, or I'm at a really bad place, and I just want to focus on X, Y, and Z. I did not have people pleasing leads to a lack of boundaries. Okay? A lack of boundaries. And I was letting so many things slide in my own home because I didn't want to cause conflict, because I was so worried about how the next person would feel, okay? Which also did play a big part in my relationship, but that's neither here nor there. Boundaries are important, and you cannot have sturdy boundaries that protect your peace, if you're so worried about pleasing everyone around you. Okay? Big lesson for me. That was number 3. Let me give you guys 2 more. Another lesson. To slow down. To slow down. And I'm not just talking about, slow down and watch TV or take a stroll outside. No, what I'm saying is to mentally slow down. Okay? Because I had experienced so much trauma, so much loss, so much pain at such a young age, and I did not have the support that I needed to, or that I should have had in those moments, the support that I needed to get through those moments, I led myself to believe that I did not have time to deal with stress, to deal with loss, to deal with pain. I didn't have time to grieve. Okay? It was always, okay, this has happened. So how do we figure out? How do we move forward? How do we keep on surviving? Right? Because we don't have time to fall apart. We don't have time to sit up here and cry or be sad, because all we got. But that was so detrimental. It was so detrimental. And let me tell you why. Okay? For me personally, after experiencing that separation with my kid's father, I really didn't know what to do. Okay? Again, like I said, not only am I dealing with the separation, but we've accumulated bills that haven't been paid, and I have 2 babies who are dependent on me. I'm now a single mother. At the time, it was so much, and it was like I didn't know how to figure it out. And prior, maybe like a year, 2 years prior than that, I had lost my support system. My foster mom, who had raised me, had passed when my daughter was 6 months. So it's like, not only do I not know how to figure it out, but I also don't have the one person who I was able to lean on, right? To guide me through this. And so for a brief period in time, I didn't cry. I didn't get depressed. I didn't get stressed out. I got angry. I got really, 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 really angry. And it felt good. Oh, it felt good. Oh, it felt good to be angry. Okay? Anger became my anchor. It became the thing that coddled me and held me in the nighttime. It became the thing that, was able to get me through the day, because I refused to let something like that break me or send me back into depression. Now, mind you, again, at this time that I'm telling you guys about, like during the separation period, I was not where I am today. So when I'm saying that, I'm saying like, I had not, at that time, I had not dealt with the loss of my mom. I was still navigating being a first time mom, and, just recently, coming out of postpartum depression, and again, struggling with my self-esteem at this point. And, as this person who usually always has it figured out, I didn't have it figured out. And so that too was bothering me. But that anger was my drive. And it kept me together for a long time until I started seeing that anger manifest within my children. Okay, when I started noticing that my kids are waking up mad, that they're not as affectionate as they once were. They don't want to cuddle with mommy. They don't want to be up in my space. I don't want them in my I don't want to be in their space. It was becoming toxic for my kids. And so I seeked help, you guys. I did. I never forget it. And again, I talk about all of this in my book, okay? It is once again called The Forgotten Butterfly. You can find it on Amazon by Renee Lewis, okay? But going back, I remember it was one night, I think I asked my baby, I'm like, my youngest, I'm like, can I have a hug? And she screamed at me and she was like, no. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I didn't see that my kids were also picking up that energy, right? Because I was so wrapped up in needing to not break that I just didn't see it. I wasn't aware. But that right there, it shook me. It said, wake up. Okay. And that same night, I called Kaiser and I'm like, I need to speak to a therapist right now. And, of course, the lady, she asked what she asked, do you want to harm yourself? Are you thinking about harming any others? And I'm told her, I'm like, no. I just split from my kid's dad. And I don't know how to navigate it. I don't know what to do. Like I told her, I said, I've been really angry and it's affecting my kids. And of course, she, had to make sure that my kids are all right. Do you feel like harming your kids? No, never. I told her, I'm like, no, I don't want to harm them, but I am, not in a physical sense, in an emotional sense, in a mental sense. Like they're picking up on my energy and they're absorbing that energy. And I don't want that for my kids. I never want my kids to experience any ounce of trauma that I've had to experience. Okay. And I just broke down. I broke down on the phone with her and we talked for like an hour. Okay. And I'm just boo-hooing. I'm snotting. I'm just really letting it all out. And it felt so good. And I'm so thankful for her for staying on the phone with me and hearing me out. And I'm thankful for myself for being aware enough at that time to know that I needed help. And my therapist was amazing. My therapist was so amazing and he helped me get through so much. And that was another very pivotal point in my life for me. Okay. Because I realized with him, with the help of him and working with him, I realized that it wasn't just about the separation. It was about so many other things in my life that I had sped through, that I had kept moving through, that I kept pushing through. It was a lot of stuff that I did not give myself time to feel, that I did not allow myself time to grieve or process. And even, it wasn't even in the beginning. It was like towards some of the end of our last sessions, and we're talking, and he's like, Crystal, it sounds like the problem is right now is that, like, you don't give yourself enough recognition. He's like, you are not the same young lady that first came to me. You have experienced so much growth. You're doing X, Y, and Z. The things that we're working on, you're not just, working on them with me, but you're also incorporating them into your life. And he's just like, I don't think you slow down enough to appreciate your growth. Or, he's like, you, in your mind, you're telling yourself that you always have to keep going. You always have to keep going. And within doing that, you're also telling yourself, like, well, I don't have time. I don't have time for you. Okay, not only when it's time to be celebrated, but also when it is time to be sad, when it is, time to feel blah, whatever that emotion is, when you just keep moving forward, when you're just like always, well, I have to keep going, what you're telling yourself is that my feelings are not valid. And so, yes, slowing down was another big lesson for me, because it allowed me to stop looking for outside validation. Okay, it allowed me to stop looking for someone to tell me that it's okay to be sad, or it's okay to clap for yourself, or whatever the case is. I started allowing myself time to sit in however it is I'm feeling. When I finally had got done with my course, because it did take a lot of time and energy, and I finally got done with it, and I was sitting here in my room, and I just felt so happy, and I wanted to dance, and then I was like, no, be humble. But then I'm like, girl, be humble. We just did something that was really big for us. And so I did my little happy dance. Okay, when I'm feeling sad, or again, whatever feelings I'm feeling, I allow myself time to sit in those feelings now. It becomes dangerous. It becomes dangerous when we stay in those feelings, like how I did when I was explaining earlier to you guys about me being angry. Okay, I didn't just sit in it. I sat and I stayed there because it brought me comfort, because it gave me a false sense of power, a false sense of security. Okay. Moving on. Let's see the last one. I would say the last biggest lesson is that it is okay to be me. It is okay to just be me. All of these things that I'm talking about, like, now that I think about it, like sitting here thinking about it with you guys, it does kind of make me like really emotional. Just to understand, like, where my mind was at one point, and, just how much growth I've made. But it is okay to be me. I lived a lot of my life again, like how I was saying, like about finishing my course, like humbly. I don't want to be too much. I don't want to be too seen. I used to dim or suppress who I am to make everyone else around me feel comfortable. Now, I know that kind of goes hand in hand with the people pleasing situation, but it also shows up as kind of like an imposter syndrome. Okay, sorry, get it together. Learn how to talk. Imposter syndrome. So it's like, I was telling myself, like, oh, when I'm around certain people, I can't I can't be too smart, or I can't be too pretty, or I can't be too seen because it makes, this person feel like this. Now again, people pleasing, but also it's doing something to me, right? It's taking me further and further away from the authentic version of myself. And it's like I had to learn that, like, it's not my job. It is not my job to shrink or become small so other people can feel comfortable about themselves. That is not my problem. The way me being me, okay, if me being just completely and utterly me makes you uncomfortable, that is a you problem. It is not a me problem. Okay? It is not a me problem. But again, because, and there are, again, this is why I was saying, like, healing is just not a one size fit all, because just that right there alone, again, ties into my people pleasing. It ties into me being empathetic, and, understanding, like, oh, well, because I experienced bullying as a child, I never wanted anyone else to feel small. So now I'm shrinking myself in order to help other people up. Or, there were so many layers to just that, to just accepting that it's okay for me to be me. Okay? There were so many layers that came with, hey, you're attaching your self-worth, your value to your relationships. And then it went from, oh, okay, not only do I attach my self-worth to my relationships, but to my, how much money I make. And, that's leading me to work so hard to, I'm burnt out. That's leading me to, say, hey, I got it all. I don't want to become a burden. It was just so much. It was so much. And that is why it has taken me so long to put this video out, because I don't want to come on here and give you guys fluff. When I doing this video, okay, it is also me announcing, like, hey, I've built this course, but I don't want it to say, like, I'm not getting on here and I'm not promising you a one-stop fix. It is not that. The course that I have built is not that. Okay? Actually, the name of the course is A Soft Life After Survival, Rebuilding a Woman Within. And it is not, again, when you take my course, I'm not saying, hey, take this course and you're going to be the best you've ever been. You're going to be trauma-free. That's not what my course is. What it is a step to help you identify what areas of your life you are, you're holding on to trauma from. It is saying, hey, my course says, hey, this course will help you become self-aware and aware of those parts of you that do need healing, those parts of you that are holding on to trauma, those parts of you that are asking for your attention. It is just a first step, okay? Because again, for some people, healing that trauma, healing those wounds, or even identifying them could take almost a lifetime. You got to think about it. If, I'm 31. I'm 31, and again, I'm still actively working on some of my wounds and my trauma. Okay, so imagine someone who's a little bit older than me, someone who's in their 40s or in their 50s, and saying, hey, I'm tired of repeating these cycles. I'm tired of ending up in these type of relationships. I'm tired of dealing with these certain repeated patterns when it comes to friendship and money or whatever the case is. I'm just tired of my life feeling like it's a constant battle. Okay? I'm tired of constantly feeling like, all I have to do is survive. Okay, what did my mom used to say? Robbing Peter to pay Paul. And again, financially, yes, but mentally and spiritually and emotionally, you know. Sorry, you guys. Been talking a lot. But that's what my course is. It is a first step. It is a 30-day course. And through the length of the course, we will work on self-awareness. Okay? And that is just becoming aware of self first and foremost. Okay? That is the shutting out the outside noise and giving yourself a voice again. We will go over childhood trauma, and identifying some of those childhood wounds, beliefs, and identity. Also, re-nurturing, re-parenting our inner child. We go over rewriting your story. Rewriting your story, because a lot of times, it's all good and dandy to say, hey, my past doesn't define me. But how are you talking to yourself? What stories are you telling yourself in a time of crisis? Are you someone who believes that bad things always happen to you? Are you someone who believes that, you're not good enough to follow your dreams, to live in your purpose? What are the things that you tell yourself? Because now you get to tell yourself something different, right? You get to decide what your story is. Not your past, not the world, not your mom, your dad. Nobody gets to tell you who you are. You do. And there are several other things that we will go over. But again, the bottom line is healing is a journey, you guys. Healing is a journey. And sometimes we don't know what is the first step. I didn't know what the first step for myself was. Okay? I just kept stepping. And I kept peeling back those layers so that I could be here with you guys today. Okay? So you don't have to walk through it alone. So you have someone to help you identify what is the most important thing to start with. What is the thing that is currently shaping your world? And how do we work that? How do we work with that? How do we, change it? I will be doing more videos. I was actually really nervous to get on here and talk to you guys. And then now that I am, it's just like, hey girl, I missed you. Anyways, if you guys are interested in more talks about, healing, relationships, dealing with trauma, click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I am going to make a priority of mine to go post more discussion videos and stuff. Sorry you guys. I might go through and kind of delete some of the videos. I don't want to delete my whole channel because I have a certain amount of subscribers already. I don't want to have to start all over, because I do also want to do live videos, okay, to where maybe we can have live Q&As and things like that. There will be some topics that we are going to talk about as well and discuss that may be a little bit triggering for those of you who have also experienced similar situations, okay? I am also a survivor of SA. And so, again, that is a form of trauma and a traumatic experience that I would like to be able to openly discuss with you guys. And again, just like things like growing up in foster care, um, postpartum depression in general, anxiety, things like that. I would love to discuss all of these things with you guys so that we can heal together, because you don't have to do it alone. And if at any point through our relationship, if you guys are interested in checking out my book or the course, just comment down below, ready, and I will send you the link. But until next time, loves, happy healing.